It's beginning to look a lot like Ethan everywhere you go. Scary, I know. Hey, what's up? It is Tuesday, December 10th, 7:01 p.m. on the East Coast. Please apologize for my extremely casual attire tonight, as it's been a long day. But as you come in, please say hi. Let us know you're here. And by us, I mean me. And where you're from. Hi, Jenna. And all. It's just me. It's just me. Hey, Nathan. Good to see you. Cameras to Ethan. I cannot join live streams because it's always at 1 a.m. night here in Germany, but I watched them the next morning. I hope you're doing well. Oh, thank you so much. Robert Spence in the house. Hey, Maya. I'm thinking we don't have an in-depth chip conversation today. I think last time it was extremely riveting. And although I did not get scolded or canceled, which was great, probably should stick to OCD and related disorders this evening and everything that you're going through. But I want to thank you for the in-depth chip conversation that was a couple weeks ago. I actually really enjoyed it and thought it was a lot of fun. So hi, Liz. Good to see you. So like I said, if you're just joining us, we'll get started in about 40 seconds. So let me know you're here. Say hi, where you're from. And Erica McCoy in the house. I liked your new logo, Erica. Creativity. Very cool. One of our IOCDF advocates, an all-around creative human. Yeah, so lots to talk about tonight, and I look forward to hearing how everyone else is as well. So we'll get started a little early tonight. Love Lana in the house, raising her hand, saying, hey. That was a lot. I'm sorry. That was a little extra. So welcome to Community Conversations. My name is Ethan. This community conversation is intended to serve as educational content and is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please be sure to work with your local provider or contact a local clinician. The IOCDF is not a crisis hotline. If you are in crisis or ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room or call 911. With the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. As always, we want to be as kind and respectful to everyone as possible. At the end of the day, we're all here to support one another. Keep in mind, this is being broadcast on multiple platforms and streams, so keep that in mind as we get down and dirty about OCD and bare our innermost secrets to each other in an effort to find some peace and feel a little better, or not feel better, but work our way toward a value-driven life that we all so deserve. So with that, what's up? What's up? How's everyone doing tonight? Let me know how you are in the comments. I'm going to take a drink of water. You're welcome, Erica. I can share a little bit about what's been going on in my life. I have a few updates, but in the meantime, I want to hear how everybody else is doing. Got a thumbs up from Lana. Always like that. That's a good, we'll take that. We'll take that. Unless it's a cry for help. I haven't seen that as a cry for help, but it could be. And if it is, probably need some elaboration on it. But for now, I'll just take it as you're doing pretty good. And we'll roll with that. Lana coming in hard with the emoji responses today. She's telling a story. She's saying she's here and she's happy to be here and all is good. Or is it good? So, you've now set up the entire night. You can only respond in emojis. Good luck with that. She messed up already. So there you go. Hi, Maya. I'm preparing to go to college and I'm working on ways to settle my OCD while I'm away from home. Yeah, that's really hard. So let's see, go back to college. So I'd be curious. Hi, Alex, she wrote, and hi, Jenna and Jillian. Yeah, college is really triggering. And I'm curious, Maya, if you have already some skills and tools that you've thought about that might help when you are away from home and OCD pops up. Love to give you more. So where are you at with that? Fill us in a little bit. When do you go back? And what are some of your biggest, what are you most nervous about? Or some of your biggest concerns, if you don't mind sharing? And if you do, just say you mind, and I'm happy to just talk in bold generalities, if you will. Jillian is good. My 5-year-old is homesick, so I'm home today and tomorrow, so he is from school. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope he feels better. Yeah, we have a company holiday party Thursday at work, so looking forward to that. Absolutely. I think that's one of the downsides to working for yourself is maybe I could throw myself a party. Might be onto something. But that sounds super fun. I'm so excited, and I know it can be hard when the kiddos are sick. So hope he feels better very, very quickly. How's everyone else doing? How is your OCD as we get closer to the holidays? We did last week, we did the town hall on holiday blues and discussed a little bit about the challenges of facing the holidays as you have OCD and anxiety. So as we get inch ever so closer to that, how is everyone feeling and doing? Is there anything you'd like to share? Because I'll start talking, and once I start talking, it doesn't necessarily stop. I'm going back in February, and I guess I'm just focusing on being in public environments without fear of super anxious, because sometimes I can feel sick or triggered. Absolutely. Well, I think, yeah, you still have a fair amount of time to so Chad Tally in the house. Welcome, Chad. It's good to see you. I think you still have a fair amount of time to definitely continue honing your skills and tools. And I love the fact that you're getting out in public environments. I think that just some initial thoughts from my own experience. I really struggled in school and college. I was only in college for 3 months. I wasn't in therapy and had an OCD diagnosis, but wasn't in the right treatment, and it was really difficult to stay. So I definitely relate to the challenges around the college experience. But I think the first thing I would say, just from my own personal experience, is hi, Isostasia, is that it's okay to feel super anxious. And I understand that a lot comes with that, and that can be and make you feel really sick or triggered or whatever. But I think giving yourself permission to feel that way, and working on not being so afraid of that is really, really helpful, because then sort of the big monster isn't so big and isn't so scary. And there's lots of ways we can help that. The first one is just understanding that anxiety and is a response to a threat that may or may not be there. And with many times OCD is not there. In fact, it is a perceived threat or a fear, So understanding that you can feel sick or triggered or other things like that. I think continuing to go out in public, be willing to bring your feelings with you, understanding why you're doing it, which is, you're working toward your values and a value-driven life, and going back to school, which is obviously very important to you. And so, investing that sort of pain now to get the pleasure for the rest of your life is really beneficial. So keeping that in mind as you sort of go out every day and expose yourself to things that are triggering, and remind yourself why you're doing that. And the more you do that, the more you consistently do that, and the more you consistently do that while trying not to judge how you feel, trying not to feel better, and simply be as you are wherever you are and try to be present, I find to be really, really helpful. So thank you for sharing, I appreciate you. As I said, Chad Tally's in the house. Good to see you, Chad. Hope your family are well. And that's awesome. I love that the holidays don't cause you any blues. That is some for true and not some for others. So it is by no means a solid rule here in the OCD community for those with OCD and the holidays. So I love that you don't have so much. Alex wrote, you can feel that people are stressed. Also, the cold and winter time make people more sad. That is true. There's seasonal effectiveness disorder. Skies are gray. Well, depending where you are, obviously, Australia, it's lovely and sunny. But depending on where you are, winter time and the holidays, and they bring up lots of emotions, and the cold weather and the getting dark early can definitely have an impact on your mood and emotions, which can have an impact on your stress level and your impact on your anxiety and OCD. So all that is totally understandable. And yeah, definitely not alone in that. Nathan wrote, I made it through 2.5 years of college before I was diagnosed. That's awesome. Did you graduate, Nathan? If you don't mind me asking, I'm just curious. Jillian wrote, my therapist is out on medical leave from October through the end of the year. I felt concerned for her. I'm doing okay. Had anxiety, so I had to call to see to make sure I was going to still have her when she got back. Yeah, it's challenging when the people that we rely on and support, they're human beings and have lives and things to deal with as well. And I think those are times where there's some things to learn. I think it's definitely scary at first to sort of feel alone in that, but at the same time, there's a huge community and friends and family. And I know and understand it may feel like nobody understands your OCD better than your therapist, but I think that if you're in a place where your therapist is, going on medical leave or moving you to someone else, or feels like you can, handle it, I would see that as an amazing opportunity to do just that and kind of grow in your own skills and tools, be able to self-soothe yourself, be able to manage the difficult times and when you're triggered and so forth. And I think that's sweet of you to check on her. And at the same time, I can understand the anxiety of, will you, want you? And there's some uncertainty there. And that's totally, totally valid, especially when we have or feel like we have certainty around certain things, but life happens and we don't necessarily do. So totally understandable. But in the meantime, what a great opportunity I love that you're here tonight, Jillian. And I think it's such a great opportunity to continue doing exactly what you're doing, which is taking care of your family, taking care of yourself, hopefully some self-care, and just using your skills and tools. It's just such a great opportunity to be able to do that and recognize that, therapy is crucial and necessary to grow and help. But also, at a certain point, we have the powers inside of us. We have the skills and tools, and, ultimately it's all about being our own therapist. And so that's awesome that you're doing your thing. Oh, that's awesome, Maya. So Maya wrote, absolutely. I've been doing some exposures and traveling to visit friends. Jillian wrote, felt better after I called. I write down my OCD anxiety stuff in my list section on my phone so I don't forget, because we meet every 6 weeks. Yeah, when there's distance to meeting, you definitely want to make sure you cover everything. And I'm glad you feel better. But I'm also proud of you for if it was October, you've kind of been without for a little while. So, good for you for doing you. It's not easy for sure. I don't want to put this on because it seems a new member, but hey there, my name is Bilal, and I am 24 years old. I am a master's student in health psychology. I've suffered from OCD since I was 12 and never got the right treatment. CBT and ERP are not practiced in my country. I am so sorry, Bilal. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being here. I hope you know that this is a very, it's online, but it is a safe space as much as we can possibly make it safe. And I know that I know there are many countries that don't practice those type of treatments, and we're working very hard to reduce stigma and make those treatments accessible to everybody around the world. So I'm glad that you're here. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask. The community is amazing, and if they haven't, I'm usually behind on the comments, so if they haven't already, they're probably already answering some of your questions, but please feel free to ask any questions that you may have, and we'll do the best to answer them for you. But we're very excited that you're here. That makes sense, Jenna. Holidays are okay for me, just missing some special people in my life. Absolutely. I think that's common for all of us. And Isostasia wrote, I had a family member visiting last week and it was super triggering contamination wise. Yeah, we talked about that last week, how you have family and friends coming to visit and stay with you, or family members and stuff like that, and they interrupt sort of your routine and or come into your space and kind of mess things up, and how triggering that can be. So totally understand, and you are absolutely not alone at all. And Bilal wrote, and Bilal, just let me know if it's okay to share your comments. I just don't want to assume. But Bilal wrote, I often felt on the verge of quitting psychology, thinking, how can I practice psychology and help people if I'm not fully healed? Over time, I realized this is my OCD latching on to stressors. All of the above. But I also think that it is valid that, we're all at different journeys in our own OCD, and simultaneously, we're advocates and therapists. I'm not a therapist, but they're advocates and therapists, and we work in different things. And it's a yes, and it doesn't have to be either or, right? We can continue to do our jobs. We continue to be contributing members of society, and we can continue to navigate our OCD the best we can. And we're going to have good days and bad days, and good weeks and bad weeks, but hopefully, get to where we need to get. And I think with that comes, and you're speaking a little bit to it, Bilal, a little bit of imposter syndrome, especially, if you're in the field of psychology and also navigating mental health and mental illness. And you are not alone in that by any stretch of the imagination. There's so many amazing therapists that also have OCD and that are human beings, no different than Jillian's therapist going through some medical issues, whether they're psychiatric or physical. We're all human and we all have to navigate human things, and that's totally okay. So thank you for that comment. Michael Alcey in the house. I think what's so challenging about the holidays is that there's such a pressure to be cheerful or happy or good, but life is much messier than that on most days. Absolutely. It is. I totally agree with you, Michael. We talked about that a lot last week. And you said it, I think you said, I like that word cheerful. There's this, it's ingrained, especially during this time of year, in the music and in the decorations, and all those people's putting this work to make everybody happy and pretty and all these things. So, we feel like if we're not that, if we don't feel like that, then something's wrong with us because everybody else feels like that when they don't. And then how can we feel that way? And we don't want to be a downer to ourselves or others or family and all of that other stuff. When really, if you're in this space right now, the best you can do is just bring who you are, however you're feeling, and show up in that way. And, just in accordance with your values and how you're feeling. And it's okay to feel how you feel. And that is totally valid. But yeah, it is a challenging time. And I definitely remember when I was really struggling, I hated the holidays, Thanksgiving, Halloween. I remember so many Thanksgivings that I didn't want to go because I knew I was just miserable and anxious. And if I went, then my family would, because they didn't understand. I barely understood OCD, and, I would just get yelled at, or they'd be upset for me being upset. And it was just this back and forth of, if I don't show up, they'd be angry. If I do show up, they'd be angry that I was upset, and not knowing anything about OCD. And so, yeah, it's really, really tricky for sure. But you're allowed to feel however you feel in this moment, and that is valid. And I love this. I'm going to share this. I became fascinated by many therapists who went through the same thing. It motivated me to finish my studies and work and help people with OCD in my country. That's amazing. And if you haven't already, I hope that you reach out to the IOCDF and email and let us know where you're from, and and how we can support and work with you if we haven't already, because I think it sounds like you're doing amazing things. Oh no. Hi, Eric. I'm sorry your mom's in the hospital. Okay. She's coming home tonight. All right. Well, we're all sending lots and lots of love. Lots of love and lots of good thoughts and prayers. Yeah, Nathan, I dropped out of college after 3 months, and I had a lot of stigma around that for a long time because I actually loved being there. I really loved being there. I was there for acting and I absolutely loved it. And then OCD just completely took over, and I didn't have supports. I didn't have a psychological support system. I didn't have the right therapists. I wasn't on the right medication. And it was literally impossible for me to stay. But I had a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and a lot of frustration leaving because I loved it there. And although I was scared to be there by the time I left, that part of your brain that recognizes what you're leaving and losing, and that you don't want to be doing these OCD things, but you're doing them anyway. It's so hard, which is why it's so important. That's why it's so important, as Maya said, to practice all the things you could possibly do before you get to school. Have the skills, the tools, the therapy, all the right things so you can go and do you. But I'm proud of you for going back, Nathan. That's awesome. Chad Talley in the house. Been a good couple of weeks here, starting a human narrative style club at Chorus School, making it geared toward kids, and got invited to help lead a peer support group and local organ. That's awesome, Chad. Chad's on the ground doing the work. If you don't know Chad, he's a really good dude and has a great family. And I met him on a podcast with Robbie Rapole, and they're great guys and a lot of fun and good human beings. So I'm glad to hear that things are great. And I have seen the online about the human narrative stuff, and I'll have to check it out. And it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Oh, I love Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Is that on tonight? We're missing that? All right, I'm cutting this short. We're going right now. We're going to watch Rudolph. Hi, Arthur. I see that you're here, and feel free to leave a comment and or in the comment thread. And as I scroll down, I will see it. I'm always a little bit behind as I'm answering in real time, but yeah, feel free to leave a comment. We are right here and ready. Looks like Katie is in the house, whoever that is. My beautiful wife. Yeah, Robert had the same idea. I was curious what country as well. Let's see. I think I'm almost at no, they just refreshed. I have a story to tell too, but I want to quickly make sure I get to everybody's questions. Mike, I can't tell you how many therapists have OCD or OCD tendencies, and that's because there's so many other amazing qualities those with OCD have, like empathy, creativity, analytical prowess, etc. And I find the trick is doling out as much empathy and love to ourselves as well. I'm just gonna keep it going. Why not give ourselves permission to be a little bad if we need it? Yeah, there is amazing characteristics that individuals with OCD have, and as empathy, creativity, as Michael said, intelligence, vivid imagination, and it's sort of the gift, it's the curse, right? And our OCD likes to use our brain as its own weapon. So as amazing as our creativity and our intellect is great to have, in the hands of OCD, it can be really intense, right? So the goal is to, as I always like to say, use the powers for good and not evil, evil being OCD. So, using the gifts that we have been given toward our values and not toward what OCD wants. Deleuze, it's been a minute. What's up? Good to see you. There you go. See, connections already. Bilal, Bilal, Michael gave you his email address if you want to connect. Yeah, it's 2 a.m. there. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm reading to myself, which is super helpful on the live stream, isn't it? You are all so welcome. Great question. Can you work in the realm of OCD help without getting a master's in psychology? I have looked into becoming a peer support specialist, which is an option. Yeah, I mean, there are ways for sure. Peer support is one of them. There are other, obviously, if you want to work as a clinician on a clinical level, you need, a degree and a licensure at a master's level at the minimum. And Michael may be able to answer this better than I can, but, obviously there's peer support specialists. You can get certificates in training. You can work, under other people and their licenses if you have a specialty. I know that a lot of times counselors or residential programs are usually in school for therapy or doing something similar. So, they're undergrads and things like that. So I definitely think there's ways you can, work with people, individuals in OCD and related disorders without having, a master's or doctorate level degree. So. Let's see. I think we reached the bottom. When's the last time you did a compulsion? Oh, what a great question. Hi, Sean McCartney. So Miss Love asks, when's the last time you did a compulsion and what was it? I feel like I'm on a weird dating app. It's a great question though. So let's see. The last time I did a compulsion, and I'm always 100% real with y'all. Hey, Stacey Hirschman, was yesterday. I got some test results back that I had been waiting for. So for those of you that have been following me for the year, they that I've had some health stuff, and they found a mass in my stomach and they weren't sure what it was. And I had, MRIs and tests and things like that. And up until June, they didn't think it was anything, but I had a 6-month wait before my next MRI to really see if there was stability. And so I actually had that MRI yesterday. And leading up to the MRI, I was extremely anxious and extremely triggered and extremely all the feelings, as I think is completely valid and may have nothing to do with OCD. And everything to do with being a human being and wanting to be healthy and hoping that nothing is seriously wrong. So it's important to identify the things that aren't necessarily OCD, or in my case, somatic symptom disorder or health anxiety, things like that. When I got the results, and I'm still waiting to hear from the doctor, but they drop them in your portal, and with the report, and it was good. There was no change to the mass, which is amazing. And it appears stable. And so I'll probably get another checkup in 6 to 9 months or a year or something, but that was really, really promising. And then, as you know, I have health anxiety. And then I noticed that they mentioned my kidneys and saw something that wasn't on any of my other scans. So of course, I had to Google and see whatever they wrote meant. And once I read what it meant, I was like, okay, we're done. I'm not doing that anymore. And that was my one compulsion that I did around that. So for those of you, that was the compulsion. I Googled it wasn't even a symptom, it was a finding. And that's what it was. And then I was done. So I just kind of decided to sit with it, take the win for the day and be done, because the Google hole is scary and it can go to very dark places. I love that question because I like to keep it real and 100% with everybody, because OCD has its ups and downs. OCD related disorders has its ups and downs, and I don't ever want. All advocates. Oh, you're so welcome. All advocates are in different. Well, I can't say this out loud. Now y'all really want to know. It actually wasn't Google. It was AI. I discovered. I should not be sharing this with you, but and I'm sure I'm not the only, but AI tends to get to the question a lot faster, and it skips all the BS. I don't have to search anything. I just ask the question. It even says, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear. Let me tell you more about that condition." Reassures you a little bit. I don't necessarily like artificial intelligence, but for reassurance, it's not that bad. I'm going to get in so much trouble if you haven't thought about that. People would be like, why are you talking about AI for reassurance? Forget that I said that. Strike that from the record. Don't do it. But it's important for those of us that advocate sort of publicly. Everybody's on their own journeys. Everybody has their own experiences as they live in maintenance and management and recovery. For me, I can have days, weeks, or a month where I barely notice the OCD, and other times it's loud. And so I think it's always important to share that. And for me, I definitely have more good days than bad, and a lot more good weeks than bad weeks, but things get loud sometimes. And leading up, I've been really proud of myself. I've shared my wins over the last 9 months, and my biggest fear was that there'd be somebody would find a tumor accidentally, and that's what happened. And I spoke about the fact that if you'd asked me before that if that happened, I expected my response would have been like, oh my God, I'd be in bed, I wouldn't be able to function, and it's been quite the opposite. I've had one of the most functioning years I've had in a long time. I've done everything, I've been everywhere in spite of the discomfort and the unknown and all that. But yeah, the week leading up to it was definitely triggering, and I probably compulsed a little more than I usually do, or a lot more than I usually do, just because it was really hard and really challenging. But I could give myself grace, I can give myself compassion for it, understanding that the stress is valid, and it's not a perfect science, and there's going to be ups and downs. And it's also important to separate the obsessions from the compulsions. It takes both to be a disorder. So I could be flooded with obsessions, but as long as I'm not engaging them, as long as I'm trying to come back to the moment, and as long as I'm maybe noticing them, saying hi, but not going any deeper beyond that, my OCD isn't worse, because I'm just having intrusive thoughts. And if I let myself have them and be okay with that, and not try to get rid of them or not try to judge them, usually, it subsides pretty quickly. When you start to engage, obviously, and compulse, that's when, things start to get louder. So, but I like separating it. I think it's important because sometimes I can feel really heightened and feel like I have a lot more obsessions, and then be like, oh, my OCD is really bad. And then I'll be like, well, wait a second, though, I'm not compulsing. So is that really true? Um, so, um, yeah, exactly. Oxford online blood work results are hard for health anxiety because you have to wait to have a doctor explain, and then you start Googling and Redditing to find out what it all means. 1000%. I totally relate to that, agree with that, and all of the above. And then if one number is off and there's different scales, and they look at the whole picture, but you read the one thing and it's like, oh, this means this. And you're like, oh my gosh. And, it only means that if these other 12 things are true. And yes. Meanwhile, what are your favorite Christmas, winter, Hanukkah movies? For some, I love rewatching Ghost. Is Ghost a Christmas movie? I guess it is. I've never thought of Ghost as a holiday film. And indie 90s movies in general. It's a great question. Whoever wants to answer. Fave Christmas, winter, holiday, Hanukkah movies. I mean, I have my favorite movies. I have A Christmas Story right here because one of my best friends is in it. But gosh, I don't know. I have to think about that because I have a lot of favorite movies, but I don't know that any are holiday movies. If I had a nickel for every intrusive thought, those nickels would be contaminated. That's hilarious. I thought you were going to say I'd be rich. My treatment is going very well. I'm actually at the point where I look forward to my sessions. That's awesome. If that's your quote, please trademark that. I steal a lot of people's brilliance and claim it as my own. Most of what I talk about and say are not original ideas. I've simply taken them from much smarter people than I. I would not dare to take that from you. I think that's hilarious. I almost want to leave that up all night. So thank you for sharing that. That's hilarious. Also, like you said, it's a much human thing to worry about that. And with such a vivid imagination, that's not strange. You wouldn't be Ethan without the imagination. Then you just bring to back compassionate. Exactly. Thank you, Michael. Ghost was on yet? Okay. I guess Ghost is a holiday film. It's funny. I never thought of that as a holiday movie, but I guess if Die Hard can be a holiday movie, so can Ghost. And yeah, I mean, technically Gremlins is too. But if the movie has Christmas, does that make it a Christmas movie? If it has Hanukkah, if it has a holiday, is that then a holiday movie? Because I mean, like Born on the 4th of July isn't a 4th of July. Well, maybe it is. I'm just tossing out there. Just because the movie centers around the holiday doesn't make it a holiday, right? Isostasia? Oh, that's funny. I like that. I'm going to forget it. And I almost want to copy and paste it. Anyway. Maya wrote, it's weird with psychosomatic symptoms too, because I always tried to find out what physical illness I had, and the anxiety would cause more symptoms like a cycle. Yeah, that's right. And psychosomatic disorder is really tricky. I find I have SSD, and I find it way more challenging. I mean, it's a subset of OCD, but it's not quite OCD. And I find it more challenging because of the proof that I'm experiencing something real, whether it's anxiety related or not. And in my cases, that the last few years, they have not been specific to anxiety, but you're absolutely right. Then the anxiety kicks in and that creates more symptomatology and it becomes a cycle. And it's really, really challenging. And, your OCD uses the fact that there are somatic symptoms as proof to whatever that thing you're afraid of is happening. So it can be really, really challenging. All right. She love The Apartment. I consider that a Christmas movie. I think then in that case, whatever movie we consider to be a holiday movie is in fact a holiday movie. More kudos to Robert Spence. It was amazing. It really was. I'm going to forget it. And I really want to, I think the only way to put it up there. No, I can't. Dang it. I wonder if I can copy save as. That's super weird. No. I'll just have to remember. Somebody write that down and email it. Okay, The Bishop's Wife with Cary Grant and Loretta Young. It's from the 40s. I love that movie. It's a good movie. I love old movies too. Isostasia, generally, I don't appreciate people that are funnier than I am. But that was, I mean, I'll give credit where credit is due, and that was really funny. Yeah, psychosomatic, somatic symptom disorder. So Maya, and my apologies, I just reread her. She has psychosomatic symptom, which is anxiety symptoms, like dizziness, nausea, rapid heart race, rapid heartbeat, etc. Somatic symptom disorder is something like when you actually experience a physical symptom unrelated to anxiety, but then latch onto it and then create a catastrophic belief around that. So, a couple years ago, the tip of my tongue started twitching for absolutely no reason, and it lasted more than 3 days, and I was convinced I had ALS, like absolutely convinced, and went to the doctor and did all the tests, and then went to the neurologist, and then it just went away. But like sometimes when I'll get certain symptoms, then I will again assume the worst and navigate from there. But because it is an actual somatic symptom, something is going on, it's different than OCD. Whereas OCD is, what if I get this thing? What if I have this thing? I'm afraid I'm going to, is my finger jerking? Do I have MS? Versus my finger is jerking. I have these concerns. It's like there's a lot of overlap and similarities, and simultaneously they're now sort of tweezed out into different disorders, or so I was told by smarter people. Yeah, that was so funny. If I had a nickel for every time I compulsed, I'd have a lot of contaminated nickels. I love that. What do some people use other type? Let's see. Why do some people use other type of therapies instead of ERP? It's a good question. I think that the relationship between individuals with OCD and ERP are tricky. And I think that ERP has changed in a lot of ways over the past 30 something, 40 years since its inception in the early 1980s. And I think that it's changed and morphed as people have learned more and more about it and it's researched. I think that ERP can be challenging because of what it's founded and based in, the idea of facing your fears head on, accepting uncertainty, and being able to fully engage in the treatment. I know I struggled with engaging in exposure and response prevention. I really had a hard time surrendering and participating in exposures. And so, when that happens, thank God there is other modalities of treatment, such as acceptance commitment therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, which isn't specifically indicated for OCD, but is really helpful. I know ICBT is obviously, there's a lot of conversation around that as well. And so ERP is still the gold standard, and I think helps something like 70%, but there's 30% that it doesn't help. And I don't know that we know why. Is it the treatment? Is it the individual? And not that the individual is failing the treatment. It's just simply, where that individual is in their journey and their experience and what they're capable of doing. And so, whether it's inviting medication in or another modality of treatment or another biological treatment like TMS or DBS or things like that. So that's why ERP is the go-to first option. And I do think, if it didn't work the first time, you should probably try it a second or third time and maybe look at some of the reasons why it wasn't impactful, or maybe it didn't work for you. I know for me, a lot of self-reflection into how I approached ERP in the beginning versus how I approached it later was really, really impactful. But I was able to do that by doing acceptance commitment therapy and really understanding better the things that I wasn't doing, that wasn't helping me. But at the end of the day, everybody's journey is different. Everybody's diagnosis is different. Meaning our OCD is our OCD, but it presents differently, right? And so we all, because we're individuals and because we're unique individuals, not our OCD, but because we as individuals are unique, when we enter in to treatment and therapy with ERP, we all react and respond to it differently. You can have somebody that was sick for decades dive in and get fast really, really well. Get well really, really fast. You could have someone that is newly diagnosed and has very mild OCD and really struggle to get better, and every flavor in between, right? And I think the gist is and somebody who I admire and who's very brilliant, said this, is that, we're not failing therapy. The science is failing us. There need to be more opportunities. There need to be more advancement in the treatment of OCD, whether they're behavioral, whether they're pharmacological, whether they're biological, and research in OCD is starting to hit a stride, where we're seeing a lot of different research in a lot of different areas. But I mean, when you look at in your lifetime, what you've seen in the development of cancer or weight loss or migraines, and how many 18,000 medications and therapies there are. And then if we think about OCD, we go, okay, Prozac 1997, that's kind of the newest one, and ERP, and there's kind of some new stuff, right? It's way behind. And so I think it's really important to understand that, like, we are never failing the treatment. Science is failing us, and hopefully we're getting closer to that. But that's why I have trouble with the phrase treatment resistant. I don't think anyone is treatment resistant. I think that we don't have the treatment yet to treat certain types of individuals with OCD. And I think the treatments are out there, and we need to work harder to figure out what they are so everybody can get effective, affordable treatment that works and get better. So that's my soapbox on that. But that's why other people, in my case specifically, I would get too emotionally dysregulated to engage in ERP. So introducing ACT and dialectical behavioral therapy, which is about emotional regulation, really helped me. Then I was able to regulate my emotions a bit more, engage in exposures without becoming so dysregulated I was just unable to function. And then I could participate in the actual therapy. And that was really helpful. Home Alone is such a classic, for sure. I love that. Yep. Keep the change, you filthy animal. He's eating all the ice creams and Love Actually. That's a great movie. From the makers of Love Actually, one of my favorite rom-coms ever is About Time. Not same dad. Sorry, Bill Nye is in both. But I don't know if, for those of you that have seen About Time, with Domhnall Gleeson and a younger Rachel McAdams and Margot Robbie's first movie, I think it is a brilliant and wonderful romantic comedy. It's got like a hint of sci-fi. I think it's wonderful. I really love it. Every Word of the Christmas Story. So if you're a Christmas Story fan, one of my closest friends is the bully, Scott Furcus. In A Christmas Story, Zach Ward, who I met shooting a movie in 2011, and we've been friends ever since. Hence the Christmas Story poster with everybody's signature. So CBT and DBT helped me out some, for sure. I'm probably way behind on the comments again. Thanks for all the love and peeps. My OCD ADD combo gives me the moments of odd inspirations. God bless your odd inspiration. I think we need a shirt. Michael said, as you know, Ethan, I'm a big fan of really expanding what we can do in terms of new treatments, including expanding what and how ERP can work, what's so useful and helpful about ICBT or even internal family systems. Oh, for sure, Michael. I agree. And I'm glad you're on the front lines having those conversations. I'll always post comments that start with, I agree. That's a joke. It's not as funny as Robert today, but I'll take it. I agree that it's such a personal thing, and that's why it's important to expand the way we research and implement these treatments. I agree with you, Michael, as well. Oh, I reached the bottom. I'm sorry. For those of you who are asking about Mike's book, it's The Upside of OCD, Flip the Script to Reclaim Your Life. Yeah, thank you. It is so good. You just absolutely fall in love with Rachel McAdams. At least I did, but it's such a good movie. I really, really like it. Half emoji, half words. I appreciate that, Love Lana. I can't believe I'm down. Did the comments just stop? What happened? It's been a minute. Where'd everybody go? Usually I'm behind. I've caught up. What's going on? Well, I got to the story that I wanted to tell, which was about which was led in by her comment about what was my last compulsion. It was almost like, what's the last photo in your camera roll? What's your last compulsion? But yeah, about the mass and stuff. And you know what's weird? I was sharing this with my therapist today. I do know Scott Farkas. I do. I don't think I have a picture available, but I do. He's a good guy. A redheaded bully. He's done quite a bit. He's done a lot of cool roles outside of that. But that was his first when he was 13 in Canada, and he's got some good stories about shooting that film. This is actually from the sequel that came out, A Christmas Story Christmas, that came out on HBO, I think, a couple of years ago, or on Max, whatever it's called now, as the kids used to call it. But it's weird because I really thought, maybe y'all have thoughts on this, because I'm a little judgy with myself today. So I'm going to share with you, and maybe you can offer me some insight. So as you know, as I said, I got my test results back yesterday, and I really thought that post results, I would feel like this incredible sense of relief. And not only this incredible sense of relief, but this incredible, like, renewed invigoration of what I can do and what I can accomplish. And I'm going to do all this stuff now. And oh my gosh, I'm going to live, because my brain has been like, I'm going to die and it's over. It's my last Christmas, all the catastrophic thoughts. So, and in the past, when I've had test results of any kind, I've been anxious and nervous and scared until I got them. And it's this huge, even so simple as a physical and just my blood work and seeing it come back and be like, okay, I'm okay, good, whatever. But it's weird because I didn't get that sense of relief this time, and I'm not sure why. And I'm being very judgy with how I feel today and my emotions. I've been kind of angry today and frustrated and emotional, and I'm not 100% sure why. And sometimes the why is not important. Most of the time, the why is not important. I have been trying to understand the why a little bit. Maybe, maybe it's because I've been sitting with it for so long that it's just my adrenaline has been going for 9 months, just trying to function and move forward. And now I'm just tired. Yeah, thank you, Lovelon. I appreciate that. It just, feel free to leave comments, but I share that because I wasn't expecting it. I just kind of felt like as soon as I get that news, it's going to be like, yes, awesome. But I just didn't feel that way. And I don't feel like, I'll preface by saying, emotions, exactly. I don't feel like, I'm not having obsessions about it. I'm not like, oh my God, what if the doctor's wrong? What if they read the thing wrong? What if there was a problem with the MRI? What if the report? I'm not having any of those thoughts. I feel very at peace with whatever the doctors have seen and said and told me. Just have a lot of feelings around it, and they're not necessarily the feelings I thought I had. But as Lana calls them, emotions, and I think that's a good word. But I just wanted to share a little bit with you. Do you think OCD is caused by early childhood trauma? My earliest memory is this world is a trauma. Do you know anyone with OCD whose childhood was good and non-stressed? It's a great question, and I think, in short, I think that I do not think that OCD is solely caused by childhood trauma. I think there's a number of reasons people develop OCD, and that can definitely be one of them. We know that there's a significant genetic component to OCD. So mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, very, very often, if somebody presents with OCD, sorry, I was reading Mike's comment. I think OCD is a complex combination of nature and nurture, a high emotional existential sensitivity that can really kick up the trauma as well. That's how I see it. Yeah, so I think you have the genetic component. I think that you can have, there's specific milestones throughout life where OCD tends to kick up, whether that's puberty or going off to high school, going off to college, pregnancy, a trauma. There is science to show that there is a predisposition to OCD. And so it's, if you will, dormant, right? And then when something, as Michael says, when nature kicks in, whether it's a trauma or an experience, It can sort of activate OCD, and it can become, prominent and interfering. A lot of times, by the time it becomes interfering later in life, we look back once we were educated about OCD and realize how much of a struggle it had been up until your entire life. I know individuals that have had significant childhood trauma, and because of that have OCD and lots of other mental illness related issues. I know lots of individuals who have OCD that don't have childhood trauma. I do not have childhood trauma. My OCD created traumatic experiences in my childhood, but I do not have any type of childhood trauma. So, are there individuals with OCD that have childhood trauma? Yes. Does childhood trauma always cause OCD? No. But it can, along with lots of other variations and other various reasons why OCD may or may not become a thing. So hopefully that was helpful in some way. Again, that's at least what the smart people tell me. Yeah, I relate to this too, Chad. When I get results, it's usually cool, I'm on track, but what if? Yeah, I got that. And that was my kidney thing, right? It's like, okay, that's good. Wait, what's that thing down there? Miss Google, unfortunately, know more about the biggest university neurologist since her condition is rare and many docs are learning about the condition about themselves. Docs tell me that I'm educating them and advocacy is needed. Miss Google needs rest. I like that. Miss Google needs rest. That's a good saying for today too. Maya wrote, I'm sorry you're feeling that way. It's like what you said, though. Sometimes you just have to allow yourself to feel things you feel. Yeah. And I also think it's okay to not know why. I think we can drive ourselves nuts trying to figure out the why too. So I think maybe we just feel the emotions, let the emotions be there, do not judge the emotions. And the why doesn't matter. I am grateful that things are good, and that is not an issue right now. That's a real blessing for sure. Juliana, did you ever hear about OCD fear of drugs? My stepfather used to use drugs, and now I think that everything has drugs. Yes, in short, I think that, for those of you that are new or maybe just learning, OCD really is only hindered by the imagination. Every subtype and symptom you could think of exists. I know somebody now who's a very prominent psychiatrist in the field, and when they were struggling, they thought that if they breathed in, they were breathing in cocaine. It was in the air and they would get high. So there's lots and lots of individuals with OCD centered around a variety of things, including drugs. And in your case, maybe you have a very specific reason, why that is. And the treatment is exactly the same, whether it's, fear of harm or fear of getting illness or contamination or using drugs or accidentally using drugs or being impacted or affected by drugs. Exposure and response prevention still remains the gold standard treatment for that. And it doesn't matter what your symptom or subtype is. At the end of the day, it's OCD. I'm not saying that certain symptoms or subtypes can be more challenging to treat, because I believe they can be, but I think they're all treatable. And so no, you're probably not alone at all in that. I know many people with that, for different reasons. And like I said, I always think I've heard it all, and then I meet somebody that shares whatever they're experiencing and their OCD is centered around, and it's something new. But it kind of all falls into the certain categories that are laid out in the various journals and things like that. So, have you ever feel like, I don't know, that feeling of weirdness about being calm? It's so foreign sometimes because we're so used to being worried. No, you're crappy. You said it perfectly with your crappy English. I have crappy English too, and it's my first language. I think that Katie and I have been talking about this. It's this idea of when you have nothing to worry about, then suddenly it feels really uneasy, and that something's wrong. And our brains will, or at least my brain and Katie's brain will sort of switch to what she likes to call the Rolodex of things to worry about. And it's all the old stuff starts popping up because I don't have any new stuff to come. There's also this great term that somebody called it foreboding joy. It's this idea of like, things are good. Oh God, what's going to happen now? There's things are good. I explained this to my therapist today. My OCD, typically whatever I'm focused on is the thing that I perceive as the biggest threat, right? So in the last 9 months almost, the biggest threat has been this mass in my stomach. Is it cancer? Is it not cancer? Is it going to kill me? Is it not going to kill me? Is it growing? It wasn't growing 3 months ago, but now they want me to wait 6 months, and it's been 4 months, and now it's been enough time. And is it spread? All those thoughts, right? So I do think part of the reason I'm having a lot of emotions today is, that was kind of put to bed for a while. And I don't have guarantees, but for in this moment, it's not a threat. So I feel like that threat had been damming, like a water dam, all of the other obsessive thinking and thoughts and themes that I have. And so I haven't been dealing with them because I've mostly just been holding this other thing at bay and really trying to live my life in a very value-driven way. Now that that's been removed, I was saying there's sort of these flood of intrusive thoughts entering my head that I haven't thought about in a long time. And it's really overwhelming. And I haven't engaged in a compulsion at all in regard to them. I'm really just trying. Oh, Katie's on. Rolodex. There we go. I'm really trying to just let them be there and just keep waving at the flow of obsessive traffic, obsessive thought traffic going through my brain. But I think that's part of it. I think I'm just like getting bombarded with thoughts that I hadn't really thought about in a while, and it's a wee bit disconcerting. That's a terrible Irish accent. Let's be glad that Nikki Bradley is not on. Yeah, exactly. And that's what they call the backdoor spike, right? The lack of anxiety. Well, why am I not having anxiety about that? I should be worried about this. Well, why am I not worried? Okay, then bring in the worry. Life really is unfair. While some people enjoy life, I'm here accepting I might cause HIV from my friend's blood. I must go to the hospital and get checked, but go live my life. It's a powerful statement, and I want to share that it can definitely feel like life is unfair. And I think we all have that feeling. As someone that, wasn't diagnosed or was diagnosed with OCD at 14, but didn't get treatment till 31. I lived the first 3 decades of my life watching other people live what seemed like happy lives. Of course, they have their own shit, but what seemed like really happy lives, and was very angry at that I couldn't do the things that quote unquote normal people could do, whether that was go to high school, go to college, go out on a date, go out and have fun, go spend the night at someone's house, go to sleepaway camp. Why was I terrified to leave my mom's side and always afraid that X, Y, and Z was going to happen? And I think it's very easy for us to get in that place of hopelessness and despair. And that's when we start to really feel those type of feelings. What I want to say is, for those of you that are feeling that tonight, that, OCD is one of the most treatable mental illnesses. And I don't say that lightly, in the sense that I know that accessing treatment is really challenging. If you heard from Bilal earlier where he is, they don't even have, ERP and CBT. I know that it's expensive. I know that, finding effective treatment is challenging. And so it's not just about, well, I need to get the treatment. It's like, where do I go and can I afford it and all this stuff. But I will tell you that I know so many amazing people that have gotten better, whether they've been able to access treatment through a clinician, whether they've been access treatment through a support group or books or online resources. And you must know that I know that sometimes the suffering feels unbearable in this moment, but there is hope and there's light at the end of the tunnel. And there was a point where I would have sworn to you that OCD was going to kill me, and that there was absolutely no hope for me whatsoever. And, I like to tell my story because I always feel like if I can get better, then you can too. And I truly believe that. So I know that the trying to accept these are horrible things, and the challenge is it feels so unfair, and your feelings are so valid. But I also want to share with you the other side of that truth, which is which is you can live the beautiful life you deserve. You can move in the direction of your values. And it is a process. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And we do have to have lots and lots of patience. And sometimes that level of patience seems unfair. But I just wanted to leave you with that if you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling why me, that is okay. You are allowed to feel those things. And you still have to get up and try. You still have to get up and try. And, we're here to support you in the ways that we can, to let you know that you're not alone, to offer communities where you can feel safe and ask questions, and hopefully we'll continue to be able to offer resources and give you guidance so you can access treatment and get the help that you need. It is out there. Please have patience. Please know that you're not alone. And if you're here, you're in a really good place. And thank you for being here. I think we're a little bit over. Yeah, you're not alone. I feel you miss love, HIV, fear made miserable many, many times. And I know lots of people in my high school, I had the same fear. So I totally relate. I used to say that I could feel it in my blood. Like I can feel it. I know that I have it. I can feel it. I can feel it. So, you're definitely not alone in that. Oh, thank you, Michael. Thanks you, Ethan, as always. Always learn so much and have so much fun with you as our fear-embracing leader. And thanks to everyone whose comments always expand my mind too. Happy holidays to you and Katie, and happy holiday to everyone. Be well, allow yourself to feel and think fully and with faith that are good and human and wonderful. I love that. Thank you, Michael, for sharing that message. It's a good message. With that, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think this is the last community conversation for this year. Is it? Maybe? I'm going to check real quick. Hang tight because I don't want to promise or say something that I will later regret. Today is the December of the 10th. It is the last community conversation. This Thursday, we have a research roundtable followed by Faith and OCD on December 17th. We have an Ask the Experts on December 18th, supporting our families on the 19th, and then we're out for Christmas. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here and taking your time. I thank the IOCDF for having me and continuing to let me speak to you after all these years. Like I said, wherever you are, I know the holidays are coming up and you may be really excited or really not excited. And I think all the feelings are valid. Hi, Nikki, you missed my wonderful Irish accent or attempt at one. It wasn't so great. Even though I think you're in Scotland, Ireland, Skyerland, Otland, somewhere there. You can find these if you go to the video section on Facebook or YouTube. There are playlists with all of our live streaming content, community conversations, Ask the Experts, Lunch and Learn, all of them, they're categorized, going back years, town halls, all kinds of fun things. But quickly, I just want to say, whatever you celebrate, whatever faith tradition you are, happy, happy, happy holidays. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your year. I hope you're kind to yourself, you're compassionate with yourself, you love yourself. You know that help and hope is out there. I know it doesn't feel like that all the time. Trust me, I know that. But keep fighting with us. Do not give up. Reach out to people. You're showing up here is such a huge. When I was struggling, I never would have come to something like this. So every time you guys jump on and support me and support each other, I think you guys are incredible. So thank you so much. Quickly, as always, like and subscribe and follow on all the live stream platforms. You can visit iocdf.org for more information, questions, comments, concerns, things like that. Just kind of wrapping through quickly here. And yeah, that's everything. So thank you again for tonight. Happy holidays. Have a beautiful and safe rest of your new year. And you know what? If you feel like you're in a bad mood, be in a bad mood. Who cares? Just be you, be authentic, and that is always enough. And in the meantime, as Kim Quinlan always says, it's a good day to do hard things, or it's a good month to do hard things. Yes. Thank you, everyone. All right. I don't want to say goodbye. It's like, no, you hang up first. Yeah. Have a wonderful evening. Stay vigilant. Feel the fields. Don't let OCD off the hook. Love you all so much. And we'll see you in 2025. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Bye-bye. And I can't find the end thing. They're always like, put up the end thing. I'm like, I don't know where that is. There it is. But you can still hear me. All right. Have a good night.